I am Dr. Sunil Sawant, Professor and Head, Department of English, Kishanvir Mahavidyalaya Y. The topic of my today's presentation is function of literary criticism. Now there are three important functions of literary criticism. The first function is an analysis of literature. Helen Gardner, one of the renowned critics, argues that elucidation or illustration is the critic's primary task as I conceive it. Gardner here gives importance to the role of explanation, to the role of analysis performed by the critic of literature. The second function of literary criticism is interpretation of literature. About this function, Thomas Carlyle has to say something very important. According to him, criticism stands like an interpreter between the inspired and the uninspired, between the prophet and those who hear the melody of his words and catch the glimpse of their material meaning but understand not their deeper import. Thomas Carlyle here brings to the notice of the readers another important function of literary criticism, which is to help the readers understand the meaning of any work of art, to help the reader understand the deeper import, the deeper significance of different works of art. And the third important function of literary criticism is judgment upon a work of literature. About this third important function of literary criticism, S.M. Schreiber has to say that the business of the literary critic is, in the first instance, to distinguish between a good one and a bad one. What is meant here is the role that literary criticism can play in passing the judgment, the value judgment upon any work of literature. When you judge the value of a work of art, you decide whether it is good or bad, and that is also very important along with analysis of literature or interpretation of literature. Now we are going to discuss in brief two important contributions by different critics which say something about the function of literary criticism. The first critic mentioned here is Matthew Arnold, the 19th century poet and critic, the 19th century Victorian contributor to the study of literature. In his book, The Function of Criticism at the Present Time, we find Arnold reflects on the role of criticism in contemporary society and its relationship to culture and society as a whole. Arnold was the first to expand the role of literary criticism. Instead of making it a vehicle of analyzing literature, only literature, Arnold said that we must apply the world of literary criticism to culture, the entire culture. And according to him, criticism is a means of interpreting and evaluating not only some literary work but the entire culture, rather than simply a means of passing judgment. And his definition of criticism is a disinterested endeavor to learn and propagate the best that is known and thought in the world, and thus to establish a current of fresh and true ideas. So what criticism does is this, that it does not simply deal with literature, but it has the broader role of spreading what is best in the world and establish a current, a movement of fresh and true ideas. According to Arnold, a critic must be a man with great knowledge and understanding so that he can rise above personal considerations. A critic is a person who goes above his prejudices, vested interests, and is concerned with the important tradition of literature. He must have missionary zeal to make the best ideas prevail, and he must see things as they really are in themselves and apply them to life. So Arnold does not limit the role of literary criticism, the function of literary criticism, to the field of literature only. He expands the role of literary critic to explain the culture of any society. Another critic is T.S. Eliot, who the 20th century critic. He has written the essay The Function of Criticism, where he defines the role of criticism. According to him, what is criticism? What does criticism do? The elucidation of the works of art and the correction of taste. These two important functions literary criticism plays in the world of literature, in the world of art. Elucidation, explanation, interpreting the meaning of works of art, and thereby correcting the taste of the readers. The critic helps the people to understand what is best in the world of literature. The critic, if he is to justify his existence, should endeavor to discipline his personal prejudices and cranks and compose his differences with as many of his fellows as possible in the common pursuit of true judgment. Again, like Arnold, T.S. Eliot demands that critic should be able to overcome his prejudices, his narrow interests, and he must be concerned with passing true judgment to the readers. Analysis and comparison, these two important methods which are there to be used while practicing criticism. According to Eliot, the critic is not expected to give his own opinion or fancy. What is there in the work of art, that should get revealed through the exercise of criticism. The chief tools of criticism, therefore, are comparison and analysis. And any book or essay or note which produces a fact about a work of art is a better piece of criticism. Eliot, in his essay, highlights this importance of explaining the reality behind the fiction, reality behind the work of art. Thank you very much.